And tonight on the Daily Wrap, a busy weekend for Hillary Clinton, but can her campaign bounce back from that email scandal? Donald Trump takes a slight dip in the polls, but still leads the GOP pack. And an American airstrike kills 22 people at a hospital in Afghanistan. But is the media giving us the full story? This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, along with my co-host Rick Unger. Past your curfew, I am well, thank you.
Nice
but
to be
did
back.
you catch Hillary on Saturday Night Live?
I did. To be fair, I think they're all funny. I love when politicians go on Saturday Night Live, and I tend to be generous. I was even generous when Sarah Palin was on. So yeah, I loved her. I thought she was great.
It's nice to have a band of writers behind you that's been doing it for 41 years.
Of course it does.
I feel so old. That show's been on for 41 years.
I remember the first one, so that's how old I feel.
Well,
I do.
To the geriatrics right, he's a Forbes.com columnist and an Emmy winner. Bill, come on, please. He's quite young. Bill Tucker. And finally, he's the assistant online editor for Commentary Magazine. Noah Rothman, all smiles, is back once again. All right, everybody, let's get right to the Daily Download. Hillary Clinton fighting hard to get her campaign back on track after her email scandals have derailed said campaign, according to the latest NBC Wall Street Journal Marist poll. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has a big 9-point lead in New Hampshire. In Iowa, Hillary still leads Sanders by 11, but is getting trounced in head-to-head matchups against 3 potential GOP nominees. Jeb Bush beats Secretary Clinton by 10 points. Donald Trump wins by 7, and Carly routs her by 14. Hillary's doing all she can to right the ship, but still faces tough questions, especially about those emails. Here she is on the Today Show with Savannah Guthrie.
On the one hand, you've said sorry and you've apologized for the confusion that it creates.
Right.
On the other hand, sometimes you say it's the work of your Republican rivals going after you. It's the same old partisan attacks. And I guess my question to you is, which is it?
Well, actually, it's both. I mean, I'm sorry that I made a choice that has resulted in this kind of situation. But it's also, as we now know very clearly, the way that the Republicans are trying to bring my, as they admit, poll numbers down.
Do you get how bad it looks?
And when Savannah didn't give up on the questioning, Hillary got mad and blamed Republicans for the email scandal.
Look at the situation they chose to exploit, to go after me for political reasons. The death of 4 Americans in Benghazi. I knew the ambassador. I identified him. I asked him to go there. I asked the president to nominate him. There have been 7 investigations led mostly by Republicans in the Congress, and they were nonpartisan, and they reached conclusions that, first of all, I and nobody did anything wrong, but there were changes we could make. This committee was set up, as they have admitted, for the purpose of making a partisan political issue out of the deaths of 4 Americans. I would have never done that, and if I were president and there were Republicans or Democrats who were thinking about that, I would have done everything to shut it down.
Now, I haven't seen that kind of passion since the what difference does it make moment. Let's take it out of the bubble for a second, all right? Because we follow this stuff every day. You're just the average American. You're taking care of your kids. You're working harder than you ever have before. Do you watch that and you say, you know what? Yeah, Republicans are going after Hillary Clinton. Does this tactic work here, Rick?
Well, I mean, you remember last week I said that this was Hillary's birthday, Christmas, and New Year's present all rolled into one. And it was.
With McCarthy, you mean?
Yes, but look what that led to.
Explain the McCarthy comments again.
Well, the McCarthy comments was that the Benghazi committee was all about going after Hillary, and that's what she's referring to here. The only problem is she had been asked a question about the emails, and rather than answer that question, she jumped immediately to what the Republicans were doing to her. And that was, pretty entertaining. Now, obviously, if you're not a Hillary fan, you're going to go, hey, wait a minute, it's not what she asked you. She didn't ask you about that. She asked you about the emails. Answer that question. Now, Hillary has a great fallback. Anytime she gets asked a question she doesn't like, well, you see how the Republicans are stacking the deck against me. They admitted it. Great, great, great gift for Hillary Clinton.
It's interesting because I wanted to hear Savannah ask her, is the FBI run by Republicans? Because that's who's doing the investigation. Why can't somebody just ask her that question?
The
I don't know.
FBI
That would be a
hasn't
great
charged
question.
her.
No, I know, but they are investigating.
But they are investigating
Yes,
her.
they are.
They're investigating. And her answer, right to Rick's point, was she did the classic distraction. She didn't answer the question. She went very passionately after something, and it works for her believers. It maybe works for those people who want to believe in her, but for her detractors, it's not going to make one bit of difference.
No?
I'm under the impression that most of the people who are going after Republicans for what McCarthy said haven't watched the interview where McCarthy said what he said. He didn't say, we're going after Hillary Clinton and watch her poll numbers fall. He said, we're taking action. We're investigating Benghazi. As a result, her poll numbers have fallen. Now, this is an artless comment. I've said as much. But it's a bit of a leap of logic to say Republicans are going after me exclusively to make my poll numbers fall. She's been saying as much since last year. She's always been saying that this is a Republican witch hunt.
Question for a second whether or not this 7th Benghazi committee was formed for the specific purpose of bringing down Hillary Clinton? Come on, be honest.
Bringing down Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
No, I think that there's certainly partisan motivations here, but I also think that if you're even remotely interested in good governance, you're thankful to the Benghazi committee for exposing the extent to which Hillary Clinton was focused on her own sense of convenience in office and flouting White House guidelines and State Department guidelines. If you're interested at all in good governance, you're thankful to this Benghazi committee.
So in other words, it was a partisan committee and they were successful. They found something that she did wrong.
Yeah, I would imagine that a lot of people should be happy about that result.
I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is that it's highlighting the fact that they formed a partisan committee under the auspices of looking into Benghazi when what they were really looking to do, and you know I'm not the world's biggest Hillary Clinton fan, but I don't like it any more than the next person when committees in Congress don't investigate what they're supposed to be. We saw it last
Every
week.
Congressional Select Committee is a partisan committee based on the majority that appoints it.
And Democrats do it too. I won't deny that for 1 second. But we don't like it. We didn't like Planned Parenthood last week, where they did everything but investigate the problem they were supposed to investigate.
And Republicans were rather inept there, and they didn't get a lot of accolades for it.
Bill, you're a former CNNer, and next week on CNN will be the Democratic debate.
Right.
Finally, we're having a debate amongst Democrats. How much do you think the moderators and or other candidates go after Hillary Clinton specifically on this issue, since it's clearly her biggest weakness?
Well, I think they're going to have to, because they don't have the controversy, they don't have the entertainment of Donald Trump, they don't have the multitudes of the Republican Party there to drive the ratings. So they're going to have to go after her if they want people to stick around and watch this debate. Otherwise, it really could be a very boring affair.
Do you think she has her answer down pat now at this point?
Well, as best she can. I think Bill's right. They're going to have to, because for all the reasons you just said. The problem with this debate we're about to see is it's going to end up being a debate between Hillary and my prediction is Jim Webb. Because
He's still running?
He's still there, yeah, as is Lincoln Chafee. Bernie Sanders is not going to hit her on this stuff, I don't think. I think that's the deal.
He never has to this point.
They haven't so far.
It will be interesting to see, because Bernie has said he would not conduct a negative campaign,
Right.
and he won't go on the attack. But his numbers are rising. Hers are falling.
But he's going to say, let's talk
at some point,
policy.
don't you think?
No, he doesn't have to. His numbers are rising without having to do
that's
it.
true.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I think Bill's on it. CNN's going to have to go after it.
Speaking of Mr. Sanders, he had an event this weekend in Boston, and 20,000 people showed up with 8,000 people outside.
Yeah.
I mean, that is extraordinary. I know Boston's a big college town, and that's who he's appealing to. I think the irony is that the 73-year-old inartful guy, the kind of grumpy grandfather, is the guy who's appealing most to young people, Noah.
Right, yeah, veteran New Hampshire reporter, I think it was James Pendell, said that he was there, and he said, you know, there's such a parallel between the Obama phenomenon in 2008, and the energy and the enthusiasm and the excitement on the ground, and what Bernie Sanders is generating. As you cannot not make that parallel. I think that's really important.
Rick,
it's accelerating.
Is the firewall still in place in South Carolina? In other words, is this all just fun when he wins Iowa and when he wins New Hampshire, and he probably will both?
I think so. I do not think Bernie Sanders is going to win Iowa, and you saw further proof of that in that poll. I think he very well may win New Hampshire, and yes, I think the firewall is very much still in place. Now, what can throw all of that off rails?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
Exactly. Who may be announcing as early as this week.
Maybe.
A couple of reports are out.
Praying because they're keeping a spot reserved for him on the stage.
Oh, that would probably double their audience, no question about it. All right, lightning round. Does Biden run, yes or no?
I don't think so. Not at this stage.
I'm with no. I don't think so either.
I do think so.
I do think so as well. We have a clean split. Okay, so what do you think about Hillary Clinton's interview on the Today Show this morning? Didn't look like a lot of fun. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let your voice be heard. May read those comments later in the show. Coming up next, Donald Trump taking a little bit of a dive in the polls, but he's still on top. We'll have the latest poll numbers for you. They are fascinating. Stick around right after the break.